Howdys and salutations, y'all! That's right, we're actually starting on time for once. I know that's a bit of a change of pace. October was certainly a hectic month, but hopefully November we're getting a little more back on track. Although I guess holidays start to kick in towards the latter part of that, and so we may derail pretty quickly. But for at least this little stretch, hopefully we'll be chugging right along. So, where we left off, I think we had not only modeled and resolved some of the finicky issues we'd had with the top here, but we'd also figured out at least the most basics of UV mapping, which I gotta say is stinking fun, even though obviously, uh, hmm, it's not quite perfect. Um, I'm sure that we could go in and manually adjust quite a lot of that and tweak it for hours, and that would be an exciting way to spend our time. Or, as an alternative that might not be quite so mind melting and prevent us from ever finishing the project, we can not do that. So I'm choosing that option. That said, I really did genuinely enjoy it. It's fun having to think through the 3D to 2D mapping. It tickles my actual practical side of the brain, I guess. I don't know. I like stuff that's tactile and hands-on, and this kind of scratches that itch. Not tickles the brain. The phrase is scratches that itch. Oh boy, I need to refresh my idioms. I have totally ruined them. Um, between being a fan of a lot of like fantasy stories and such, and then also having a long time where I was hooked on British comedy shows, my idioms are completely ruined. It's just a mangled mess. Also, I studied medieval history, so their idioms are completely different from ours. And suffice it to say, yeah. If I say a phrase and it's not like a thing, please call me out on it. Who even knows if I'm going to notice anymore? One of these days, I'm just going to be saying random strings of text that'll be completely unintelligible. But until then, we will continue with the 3D modeling. So, we left off with this. It's looking, I'd say, pretty good. Obviously, I've been doing, okay, not obviously that I've been doing this, but I have been doing a bit of research just in terms of, oh, good, this is even showing. Excellent. Just making sure we had the ref. I've been doing a bit of research on the Ishtar Gate, well, specifically on how we can get the patterns around the border to show up layered on top of this texture. Because what I don't want to do is to have to manually edit this texture and then align it perfectly with these. Yes, that's probably the best practice approach, and if we wanted to export this to a game or a third-party thing, I would 100% go do that. Be good practice, be very finicky though, and it's not really our goal here, because my my main priority for this project was, yeah, a little bit of a refresh on modeling, but sticking to square edges isn't really like the most effective way to do that. And learning the UV mapping, which we've done step A of, and rather than just manually editing this, trying to actually learn a way to map multiple layers, I think would be a better way to continue that. But the top priority above either of those two was rigging and animating this. And so I don't want to get too caught up in all the fiddly whoozy whatsits of trying to get the perfect borders on everything and tweaking and refining. Our goal is to make something that looks good enough and say, here you go, world, we made this. For better or for worse, you get it. Because I, as many artists do, have the bad habit of wanting to keep a piece until it's perfect, and that, as a result, never finishing it. Or, like, because it's not even that you don't finish it, you may get a state where you're like, this is technically done, but it's not good enough to share, so I need to refine it more. And so it's like post-finishing, and you never actually release it. And that can take so long that your interests and style change so that, like, you can't even match what you were doing before, or like all the stuff you did earlier looks bad because it's been like 6 months and your art skills have literally gotten better in that time. So like it's better to just finish the darn things. And I know I say this, and I'm definitely going to say it again. Doesn't mean I'm good at doing it. The number of half-finished projects littering my room, filling shelves and drawers, and oh, I just remembered the chainmail drawer. Dark times, dark ages. Not really. The Dark Ages were oversold in their darkness because folks from the Renaissance wanted to show off how cool they were, so they said that everything before them was lame and terrible. Don't get me wrong, had plenty of problems, but so did the Renaissance. Um, Anyway, let's not trigger my inner medieval history nerd, or else we're going to be here all day. I'm not going to model a thing, and I'm just going to lecture you about terminology. So instead of doing that, let's actually look at the Ishtar Gate. Go back to the pre-medieval ancient. We've got one column, as we can see on the other side. For the record, this is the way they've reconstructed it in the Pergamon Museum. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the historically accurate way it was on the ground. I know there's some debate about the original format, but it does use original features, and it is at least a recognizable model, so it's what we're going to go with for now. I'd love to get into discussion of the ethics of art history and making sure that the place of origin can define the narrative around a piece, but that's a whole different, very extensive can of worms, and you can not only write a thesis, but create a career around that, which one of my professors did, and she is so cool. But we're going to stick with just this one for now, for the sake of, again, this is an art practice thing, not necessarily a historical lesson. So we've got one column. I think the solution to get the other one is pretty straightforward. Copy and paste. So let's focus on modeling the middle arch. Now, I'm just going to eyeball the width here. And that's a perspective photo. Man, that eyeballing width would be easier if it was isometric, but it's orthographic. Alas. Well, unfortunately, that just means we got to go with what we got. Eyeballing, I'm trying to say, not accounting for the sides of the columns that are visible, because those aren't actually relevant for the width. They're just in perspective. I think the middle is... Okay, I was going to say it was going to be... I thought it was going to be 1.5 towers wide, but it really might well be 2. Probably somewhere in that middle range in reality. I think, for the sake of this looking good, I think what we're going to want to do, especially because that image is a little fish-eyed, let's aim for the 1.5 widths. And if that's too narrow, which it most likely will be, we can stretch. The bigger thing that we have to decide here is how do we want to do this? Because there's sort of, I mean, there's probably a million ways. There's 2 ways I can think of how we would want to model this. We could either, A, build the whole arch like one might do, and then cleverly cut away at it, either through, not binary combinations, booleans, yeah. But I know how to do that in Maya from back in the old days. I'm not entirely sure how to do it in Blender, so we could learn something. Or option B, and this I think is also a viable option, and maybe the one we go for, is let's just model 1/2 of it and then mirror the whole dang thing. Truthfully, I don't know if one of them's better than the other, especially when it comes to rigging animations, if that will have any impact. But, pardonnez-moi. That wasn't any language. That was, oh hey. Okay, sculpting's in ISO mode at the moment. Interesting. Trying to say pardonnez-moi, but even that's not particularly well pronounced, and my apologies for that. Okay, I know we can texture paint. We can graffiti on it. Oh, and it's a tiled pattern, so okay, that... On the one hand, that adds a complication. On the other hand... okay, no, it doesn't. For a brief moment, it looks like it would line up so that we could just do, like, the proper 2 of each animal, and it would just be in the right spot, but no, it doesn't. Okay. We'll, get unsidetracked from that, and we'll get in here with the actual modeling, which was the point. Not shading, not animation yet, not rendering, not compositing. Ooh. Interesting. I'm gonna have to mess with this later. That's gonna be part of the animation. I didn't realize it had this nice of a view. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. Oh, and geometry nodes, what wonders they are. They are actually super awesome. They look, okay. I used to have a personal bias against these like tree diagrams. I thought they were horrible. And to be fair, if they aren't explained, they are horrible. It's very hard to see what the options are, and they don't always abstract very well. However, with the right initial guidance onto what each thing does, they're actually super nice, and they're better than digging through a million menus like this and trying to figure out how everything's connected. So, they're lovely, but if you don't have any guidance on what they do, they are literally a tangle. We're not going to mess with them right now, at all. And then scripting, which I am not touching. Oh boy, am I not touching this right now. Partly because I am not competent at Python. My experience does not live in Python. It lives mostly in Java and JavaScript, for better or for worse. Actually, not even that much JavaScript. Java and then CSS, HTML, and a little bit of JavaScript. A lot of libraries. That is not the point. The point is that this is wonderful, but I don't have a use for it yet, and so I'm not going to bother with it. 80-20 rule, you know? We learn as we need. And I think we're about to be learning something, because we're going to add a new object, make sure everything is scaled the same, which is going to be a problem, actually. Hold on. Object mode, at the very least, let's think about this. Okay. Okay. Thought here. Depends on what skill we want to learn. Option 1 is add a mesh cube. Make sure it's scaled. Actually, it does seem to be scaled, not horrible. Although it's not in scale with that, so that's still going to be an issue. Or wait, yes it is, because okay, yes. Still, not what we need. Oh, this blasted cursor. There we go. I've forgotten all the hotkeys again, because I went too long without doing this. Hello, cube. Oops, that was a little too quick of a zoom. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Oh, hey, I see you in chat there, Pumpkinhead. Welcome back. Hope you enjoy the lurking. Sorry I haven't been able to stop by. Life got insane. But we'll try to sort that back out. But yes, we're just continuing with the 3D modeling, mixing things up a bit. So to the point of this, we can try to model this cube and get it the right width, which actually, width-wise, it's pretty much fine. We just need to scale height. Or we can duplicate this and try to warp it into the correct shape for the gate. Now, I'm torn, because on the one hand, convenience, this already has all of the crenellations and such on top, which is lovely. Makes my life easier. On the other hand, trying to adjust the axis to narrow it is going to cause problems. Now, they're not problems that would be visible on the final model. There'll be some weird clipping, but there's going to be that anyway. Okay. You know what? We're going to set this cube literally aside for now. We're going to try this. Whoop. There we go. So now I'm actually going to ISO mode this. This is, I love isometric mode. So silly. Very useful at times. Wow, this really does, like, old school game vibes from this, which makes sense. But I never realized how weird the proportions looked in those. Makes sense for the games, of course, but not necessarily useful here. Okay, I didn't want to scale the whole thing. I just wanted to... Okay, that's selection. Shift spacebar S. Well, good enough. Okay, so one thing that I should have thought of, but didn't, but we were going to have to fix this anyway. UV map is going to be real bad when we do this. Okay, so hitting T isn't doing me any favors there. We've got this. That is roughly the 1.5 widths, which is what we said we would start with on this. Okay, and that means the scale. I want this to be about 1/3. Which I guess is something I can actually, check. Oh yeah, seriously, like we can just straight up 1.5. and 0.33. We weren't that far off on those. Lovely. Ah, but we are going to have to solve that little issue. Height is good. Actually, it's not quite good. We're going to have to get a little creative with the top. But we can do that. Because if you look at our lovely reference for the Ishtar gate down here, the top of the gate is actually not quite as high as the columns. And in fact, now that I look at it further, even the ridge is lower, so that actually will make this easier to adjust now that I think about it. So let's select this. Let's jump in edit mode. I want to select. Let's go to this view so we can select everything. Okay, good. We can't select that though. I'm actually just going to take the vertices, so we're going to take the corners. We're going to move all this down about a half that, yes. I think that's reasonably proportional. So I'm going to go back to object mode and see if this looks terrible or not. Deselecting. How are we feeling width-wise? Not. I'm not hating it. Always down for feedback, though obviously it's not required. I am not your high school teacher. You don't have to fill out the form and the survey at the end and let me know what you think. You're welcome to, but you don't have to. Okay. The one downside is the scaling has done weird things to the crenellations. I mean, there were already weird things going on, but it's exacerbated them. Good news, the really nasty ones on the edge are going to be gone. So we can actually do some solving of that now. Now, I need to figure out how to merge meshes. But before I do that, because I'm probably going to have to... I think I have an idea of how to do it, but there's a fair chance that that's wrong, and we're going to have to do a quick little Google search. And in any case, the less that it has to automatically figure this particular piece out, the better, because they're still not that good at it. I want to remove all of these vertices that would just be clipping inside it and useless. We're going to do that. Goodbye. Actually, these two as well. Soup, and gone. Now, I don't see these. There you go. Poof. Now let us see if that breaks things, because I suspect it's going to break some connections here. That is... Oh, good. It broke more than I thought. Lovely. Okay. I'm going to have to get a little creative with this, but I do think I have a solution. Oh dear, this is getting to be a rather silly solution. Can I extrude a point directly up? Is there like, oh, there is a lock to axis. That's right. Okay, hold on. I need to lock my camera view to a useful axis for this first. That's a little tall. And we're going to extrude out this way. Oops. And up. That's not high enough. That is not high enough. Okay, but it's close. This is also way too far out. Oh, joy. Maybe I should have done this in ISO mode. But it helps clarify nonsense like this a little better. Come on, line up. Alright, I can just... Okay, now we're locked directly in on this view. Select these two and just shift them over. And we realize this point isn't exactly right either. That's okay. We want just this one. Oh, right. We'll pull it up to this height and we'll see that should be close, if not exact, because it's not going to be quite exact. But it's pretty good. And then moving our view over here just a hair. Oh boy, some of this is getting weird. I guess I missed one little point where it actually extends out, which is important. But solvable. So we will keep on keeping on with this nonsense. 1, 2. Oh, there's a little cube in the background. Guess we can probably say goodbye to that guy, but that's okay. We'll find it. He'll have his day. Blender cube will eventually find a way, one way or the other. Okay. Put this out to be over here. Of course, the problem is I need to focus in on this point down here because we need one more vertex. I don't think this is going to play nice. Can I toss this line in line mode, perhaps? Oops. Goodbye. Edge. Hello. One more vertex. Let us... Can I add edge? Anyone see an edge option? Because I'm... Oh, new edge. There we go. There we go. Now the correct things are connected. This point just needs to scoot a little bit so it straightens out. Hold on. Does this look horrendous from the front? Let's actually get some mesh on there and see. Oh, right. Wait. Have I been duped by perspective again? I have. Interesting. That does explain what went wrong, at least. And we do want that edge coming out, so this was the right call. But building this manually was probably the wrong call. Definitely going to make this complicated for ourselves. But that's okay. We will just keep on keeping on. Because we're going to have to do the same thing over here that we're doing on this side. Which is why I considered just having a, like just doing one half of this arch and then just mirroring the whole thing, because then we wouldn't have to do this twice. And that's actually really tempting still. So I'm going to look up boolean subdivisions, or subtract blender. Yeah, subtract, not subdivide. Boolean subtract. Boolean modifier. Let's see what it'll let us do. Oh, okay. Operation. Cool. How does one apply said operation? Is it one of them, these me? No, not this. No, actually, it is this, but I don't want that modifier on here. Boolean. Oh, okay. Hold on. I don't want to. Oh, and then I have to pick the object it's booleaning with. Oh, and this is how I can unite them. So I wouldn't have to do this manually on the other side. Okay, okay. I wonder if the solver's good. I hate to ask that, but like, the one in Maya was super inconsistent, or I was bad at using it. It could easily be both. Both Maya and I are flawed individuals. Maya, for the record, for anyone who doesn't know, Maya is Adobe's version of this. Their 3D modeling software. It's one of the industry standard ones. It's a big one, very popular. It's fine. It's a good program, but it is horrifically expensive. And Blender is free and does almost everything it does. Now, granted, if we were in a professional setting, that might not be the case. But for our intents and purposes, and pretty much every conceivable thing I've run into, Blender does it already. Blender is really, really, I'm obviously not paid to say this or anything. I'm just baffled. Who's putting the money in to make Blender this good? Someone has to be. What are they gaining from it? It's like I'm 100% down. It's very cool of them. I'd love to back this kind of project, but like, what are they doing? It's very cool. Okay. I have done some weird things to this that may be irreparable. Well, they're reparable, but it may be... It's sort of like when your car is totaled. Like, yeah, you can fix it, but you're wasting more time and energy than if you had just gone and fixed it, like, gone and, if you just go and get a new one, basically. We may be at that stage with this. There's lots of weirdness that I'd have to figure out how to undo. Like this has like an angle where it's like starts out over here and then it pushes in and then out. That's not what we want it to do. So I may go into object mode. I may take this lovely, lovely gate and just scoot it over there. We will just get a fresh start on this. Fortunately, reiteration is an excellent form of practice. That's why, and all those exercises, you have to do a whole bunch of it because just repeating over and over is a great way to learn. It's actually true for language as well. They think part of the reason, like the way babies learn words, is they're repeating it over and over themselves like hundreds of times. And so they pick up language. And if we just did that with all those Latin vocabulary cards that you didn't do in like middle school, then you'd have maybe mastered Latin. I say to myself, who didn't take Latin until college, but still didn't nail the vocabulary. Love that. Love that language. Love German too. But man, I am so bad at remembering like just words. And even worse at remembering when there's like additional data I need to remember, like, oh, it's also like feminine or neuter. There's no logic to it. You can maybe guess from the final letter unless it's in a different case, in which case it swaps them around. So good stinking luck. Is this word masculine in the as the subject of the sentence, or is it feminine and it's actually the direct object? Or are they both wrong and it's like subjunctive nightmare? Subjunctive is my enemy. I don't want it to be. I want to understand it. It seems very cool and extremely useful. But alas. Alas and alack. Okay. Okay, so one thing I want to make super sure is that there's not some weird gap in here or we're going to have mesh problems. So actually, let's just get ourselves directly on this view. Directly in ISO on this view. Just shift our way over. Aha. Thought so. There we go. I may lose a tiny bit, but I'd rather have it be properly intersecting. There's just not really enough lighting context to tell, but I think it's still a tiny bit out. These green highlights make it hard to tell. Okay, no, it's definitely in now. Like merged with the other shape. So what I'm going to do, actually, hold on. The more complicated the things you merge, the harder it is for the algorithm to do a good job of removing duplicate faces and such, and we're going to probably have to normalize this anyway. And actually, let's apply scale before we forget. But I think what that means is that I would rather do any cutting out of the gate itself before we merge it with the columns. Also, I almost forgot to make it shorter again. That would have been embarrassing. So two things. We need to trim out the actual archway for people to meander through. And we'll probably have to do a little bit of reaffixing on the bottom in order to... Oh, we're already going to have to do that because it's gone in... the size of this ridge is bad. But we'd have to do it on the inside anyway. So, I also wish I hadn't applied scale there. Hold on, can I undo that? Okay, cool, we're here. I'm going to go 1.75. We're going to split the difference. Oh, that's going to do weird things to the crenellations too, but that's okay. Worst case scenario, we can fix those. But I think just knowing that we're having to cut the arch out, and that's going to make this look narrower than it actually is. Just because it'd be less weighty with the hole in it. Less weighty as in less dominating the scene, but also like physically, I suppose it would also be lighter weight if you cut a hole in it. Not really the point though. Let's move on because I think this, I don't know, simile, weird quirk of language. Whatever's happened, it's broken my brain. So we're just gonna move on. Let's get ourselves a cylinder in here. Let's rotate that cylinder. Preferably. Oh, I'm moving it. Let's get it sorted out. Nope, not just small move, but snap. Ah, spacebar helps with snap. That, so help me, Blender's controls. I love this program, but they are not intuitive. Okay, so I do happen to know that the rightmost image of our references is a little bit fisheyed. And that's a problem, because it makes the arch look wider and flatter than it is. Truthfully, it is actually, like, I think just the cylindrical shape will be good. I just need to make sure I make the cylinder proportionally the right size. What I do think is roughly right in that is the width of the side pieces being roughly equal to the width of the gate, so we want it to just be 50-50. Okay, and this is, you know how in art they say don't do the details before you've done the basic like stuff? That's true of not just sketching and such, but also this. Before I'm lining pieces up and making sure everything's like that, I'd need to do all the detail work. Well, not the detail work, but I need to sort out what I need to sort out here before I'm doing like lovely little alignments and everything. Let's finish modeling it. Okay, so what is important is that this is not leveled. Sneak. Now it is. There we go. Now what I want to do is figure out how to center it relative to this. I don't know how to do that. Oh, but I do want to apply the scale to this now. I guess I've gone and done it for this one too, haven't I? Whoops. It's not really an issue, to be honest. I do think that I need this to be roughly half the width of that. We can eyeball this, but I'd like to know how to do it properly. Unfortunately, since the scale is relative to it, I don't know how to just get a ruler on it. Blender, align object to center of another object. Oh, hold on. So according to this guide from Stack Exchange, because of course it's from Stack Exchange, it's always from Stack Exchange. Granted, this is from 2019, which was 3 years ago. Ah, okay. Transform. That a thing? That's still a thing, I mean? Here we go. Transform. Align objects. Centers relative to active? Maybe I need to do this. Not, okay, hold on. Object, transform. Align objects. Align mode centers relative to selection. Ah, okay. I can only pick one axis to align on. Well, that's fine. We only need to align it on X. Unless... Okay, yeah, you can select multiple, but we really do only need to align X. Wonderful. I'm going to do this, scale it, and then we're going to have to do that again. Okay, no, I don't just want... I'd like to scale all three, if possible. There we go, just hold down S. Who'd have guessed that I would actually be able to guess a Blender hotkey correctly? That never happens. Oh, one other thing before we go too far with this is let's go ahead and do that thing that we did before and then almost forgot to recreate twice. We're gonna lower the top of this down by about half the height of this rectangle. And then we're going to go back to object mode, pretend nothing's out of the ordinary. Nothing changed, it's fine. Don't mind me applying the scale again. Nothing changed, there's no scale to apply. I have no idea what you're talking about. Object transform align objects is actually a super cool option. Of course, it moves both of them in this case, which is a little bit awkward. Oh. Interesting that one can do that. Okay, hold on real quick. Positive sides. Interesting result. Negative sides. Looks like it's got a telescope and it's looking at us. Not exactly what we need though, so let's stick with centers. And then I think the width on this is actually good, so I'm just gonna move it. Oops, nope, not both of you. Just this one, we're gonna move it down. And we're gonna have to get a little creative with this. Cause okay, this should actually be workable. We're gonna add the boolean modifier. We're gonna do a difference, which or hold on. Intersect, I'm guessing, is only where they are intersecting would survive, so we'd get like a nice little hockey puck shape of just the middle part of the cylinder, where it basically the space where they overlap. Union, I think, just sticks them together and like clears out any weird meshes in the middle, but otherwise adheres them. Difference means that they're gonna cut a hole in each other. Specifically, my hope is that this cuts a hole in the other one. But I don't know if it's gonna do that. Or how to apply this. Huh. Nope, I don't want to animate that property, but that is fascinating that you can. Implications of that are certainly something. Edit mode. Okay, let's. I forgot this cube was here. Hello. Once again, don't need the geometry notes for this. Ooh, that's a very dramatic render now, isn't it? Sure, our actual camera view is horrible. Yeah, we're gonna get like the top corner of this and the texture's gonna be all mangled. Let's do it. Let's do a quick proper render. Give it a few moments. Is the camera even pointing at anything? Uh-oh. Well, that may be the problem in its own right. This is lovely. Not quite what we need, though. Oh, so we can just stick with this. We don't need the textures and smoothing and such on it either. Not even smoothing, it's just textures and lighting. Okay, so we've booleaned it. Oh, it has cut. Ooh, that's fascinating. It trims the cylinder in half where they intersect. Okay, so I guessed wrong. Let's try union. Oh, no. Let's not do that. This is also bad. And it's the number of faces on both of these objects, I think, has just become absolutely horrifying. Okay, one of them's fine. The other one is really bad. Let's undo a few of those things. Do think... Oh yeah, that does figure it out much faster. I do think this is what we want. But I'm gonna have to look up my Blender booleans a little more. Okay. So I do have the right tool, but I've applied it to the wrong shape. The target mesh, or meshes, is subtracted from the modified mesh. So for context, what we've added here with this little wrench is a modifier, and we've added it to the cylinder, so it's the modified mesh, and so the hole's being cut in. Okay, yep. It's also interesting to know that it can persist the cylinder afterwards. I wonder if that continues even if I just full on apply. Well, no matter, we need to remove that. Don't need the geometry nodes on you right now, dude. I appreciate your enthusiasm for them, my wall, but like, now is not their moment, I'm afraid. Okay, so now we're actually punching a hole in the wall, believe it or not. But, yeah, I know there's a way to apply modifiers, or at least some of them. You can apply the subdivide, and I assume functionally you can apply all of them. Curious if that would properly finish this. Oh, apply. Oh, that's an inherent part of it now. Yes! Yes! Yes, yes, yes. Okay, thank you, cylinder. Whoa, okay, that was the rotate. Okay, now this looks actually really cool and slightly ominous. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like... Okay, I'm gonna have to remember this for later. That looks... I like that. I'm literally writing this down on a notepad right now. Ishtar, but just whole. Spooky. But it looks nice. I feel like if you put like a nice little metal grate in there, like with some patterns on it, it would look elegant. That's got to be based on an actual architectural style. That's not my original mind. What am I thinking of? We'll figure it out later. Okay, so now that we know how to do that, Cube Bob, me boy, I think we've got a plan for you at last. Although that plan is to turn you into negative space and eventually remove you from the scene. So I do have to apologize for that. But Cubo, we're going to expand him a little bit so we can get a good view. We're going to line them up with these two. Now that we know how to do that, align objects along X. Yes. Some weird things. The height, I would guess, but maybe not. I'll have to make sure these are on the same plane before I merge them, but that's fine. The trick with this doodad is that I need to make sure it's exactly as wide as the widest most points on this, or else we're going to get a slightly weird shape that we don't want. I need to make sure that this is lined up exactly with that. Not any wider and not any narrower. If we have to mix up in one direction, I'd be inclined to actually mix up a tiny bit too narrow rather than too wide. Gives it a slimming effect. Which, granted, still isn't what we want, but it's at least, like, useful still. Of course, what I should have done is not just moved it into place, but used the scale tool so that it'd be the correct width, and then I could just pop it down. So we're going to have to undo all that wonderful finagling until it's proper centered. Relative to this, anyway. Move this up so that it's still centered. Make it real wide for a second. Too wide, in fact, so that we can figure out the height first. Oop. Okay, so like you can see with the curve is sort of moving outwards at this point, and this is the time when it starts curving back inwards. We want to be right at that intersection. The height is now correct. Now we just need the width right, and this is when we go to our old friend, isometric view, and also locking the camera perspective. To this view. Okay, 1 second. I want the other side. No, I want this side. I want the one where these guys aren't in the way. Do you mind moving temporarily? Thank you. Okay, cool. Now we can figure this out. Zoom in close. Scale it until it's exactly the right width. ISO still isn't going to solve this exactly, but it makes it slightly less difficult. Okay. That is... you can see there's just like a tiny little nubbin. It's a tiny, tiny bit too wide. Scale X to 0.970. That gonna do it? I think it is. Okay, so now that the width is correct, we are unfortunately going to have to re-figure out the height again in a moment, but that's okay because that's easier to sort, and once the width's there, then it's finalized. We're going to make this guy nice and tall and scoot him down, and we're going to figure out the height again. A little too tall right now. We're going to keep moving down until, yep, it starts curving in. Want to get right to that point. Then we're going to do the same thing we did. So we're going to take this dude, we're going to add the modifier, boolean. I love me some boolean modifiers. We're going to choose our object. The target object is going to be the cube. And look, you can already see the silhouette of the arch has changed. So all that means is I think we need to just apply this. Boop. Done. Thank you, cube. You've been extraordinarily helpful. And a good proof, like, we figured it out once and then we were able to recreate it without having to look at guides. In my mind, that is a sign that we're actually maybe learning this and won't forget it in 12 seconds. I hope. But I'd say that looks... If you look at the picture on the left, I know it's in more perspective, so it's a little hard to judge, but that is actually the more accurate. So I'm pretty happy with those proportions, actually. Oh man, I didn't even think about how high the arch should be from the top. I just sort of winged it, and I think it worked. Oh jeepers, that was close. So then let's do a little bit more tweaking on this guy. Remember what I said earlier about how I should finish my tweaking before I line it up? We're going to actually listen to my own advice for once. Not something I do enough. We are going to go into... I'm actually going to scoot you out of the way too, my dude, just for a moment. We're going to get to this side view of our current arch protagonist. And we're going to get in here and just grab some vertices. I want to be in edit mode instead of object mode, so that instead of looking at the whole arch, we're just looking at all of its sub-pieces. And we can look at faces, which is a little awkward in this view, but you can select like a face that's basically a flat, like a square, rectangle, or a flat thing. You can look at edges, which is just one of the like border lines. Or we can even look at, I've just realized I've had my view a little too tall. I gotta set up my layout to be a little friendlier for Blender. There we go. You can sort of see these now. So you can select the faces, you can select the edges, or you can select the vertices, which are just corners, which is the one we're going to use. For the record, this dropdown is where I swap between object and edit, so anytime my mouse is vanishing up behind the bow and arrow here, that's where I'm going. Pretty much every time, in fact. I use it a lot more than I thought I would. And that's the thing about Blender, that it seems like it has a nasty learning curve, but it's not that bad. The hard part is just, like, initially learning it, and then actually using it is fine. So, okay, the learning curve is bad, but the actual interface is not. It just feels bad on your first go. And your second and third and fifth. It's okay, it has the flaw in that it's not intuitive. I'll grant you that. But once you learn it, it's easy to navigate. Which is true of most things that are nasty at first. Like, no matter how bad an interface is, once you learn it, they're usually pretty fine to navigate. Unless they have lag, which is the worst. No, I'm definitely not speaking from experience. Except that I totally am. Not good times. Okay, so I need to make sure I'm choosing the right vertices. Only these corners. I want to make sure they're aligned with the 4 over there, too. Actually, what I really want to do, make sure we're moving it the same amount out on both sides. That way this stays symmetrical. That should be okay. Always startles me when it does that. When you select all the vertices around a face, it technically highlights that face. The thing you'd think I'd have gotten used to by now. Now when I scale out, they'll scale out. And this should just be comparing it. So comparing these guys' width, so the tops of the oranges, these guys' width, it doesn't have to be 1-to-1. We can go a little wider on our scale. This one, I think that's going to be pretty close. And then what I am also going to do, it's a waste of time and energy, but I am still going to do it because I feel like it. I'm not diagnosed with OCD, and I would not claim that I have it, but I have my moments where it certainly feels like it. We're going to scooch these in. This serves no purpose because these are going to get removed in the next step we do, but I just wanted it to look nice. So we're going to go back to object mode, and we're going to go back and see the mesh, and that should look a little less flat and awkward. Oh, I should have done it for the top too. Okay, we're not quite moving on to the next step just yet. We're actually going back to edit mode. Woo! I just realized, no, I could have done it down there. I can't do it here. I could have just selected the faces and pulled those out, but this has all these lovely little bits on top. So what we're actually going to do, go back to this mode, and this is definitely one where ISO is useful and locking into a specific perspective is useful. Because I want to select every single one on this exact line, and none of the ones even a millimeter over. I also want to select these two, believe it or not, and do the same on this side. We're selecting all the way across the front of the arch. It's hard to tell on this view. Oh, I knew I accidentally let go of the selection. Dagnabbit. Okay. Uno momento. That's dreadful Spanish. I apologize. We're going to select these two. We're going to hold shift this time so we actually keep our selection, darn it. problem is I also have to use shift to pan the camera, so in my mind I was like, oh, I clicked shift, I'm good to go. I was not. So now you can see we've selected the outermost faces, even on the weird arches where they're all tapered, or arches, the crenellations where they're all tapered, and we've only selected the outermost sides. So now if we do just a little bit of scaling, we can pop these out. And I'm not going to scale inwards because that would warp all of these selected ones. If I wanted to do that, I would have to grab the edges on the top, and I think I'm going to choose not to waste our time on that as well. We do need to keep moving. Oh, okay. The fact that these lines are close but not quite means we weren't 100% accurate on where we matched the cylinder to the rectangle. This was a few steps ago, I'll admit. But remember when we were trying to line up with that corner exactly? That corner is this top line, and where the square actually got is this bottom line. So a tiny bit too narrow and a tiny bit too low. But all in all, well within the bounds of looking good for the arch. So now we can actually finally go back to object mode. Not before, unless I find another thing I need to fix, but I'm going to try not to get nitpicky about the top of this, even though it annoys me a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit, though, and frankly, not enough to bother with our time. So, we've got our arch. We've got one column. We have already established we know how to duplicate it to create a second column, which I will do now. But over here, we've got random geometric confusion and rubble on the back. That's fine. I wonder if that normal's alignment. There's no way. Okay, so I think what the transform align objects is supposed to do if you use the non-centers ones is supposed to allow you to line it up edge to edge, but because we've got these sort of like tapers around here, that is not going to go so hot. Point in case, yeah, it also lined it up on the interior edge, and that's, I mean, it looks like a flying buttress, but it's also significantly worse. Relative to scene origin, but like still gonna nab the wrong sides. Let's just not bother with that at all. Oops, this out of the way. My main priority for alignment is two things. One, I want it to be vertically aligned. My hope is that it still is, but because we did some alignment with the cylinder and stuff, there's a chance that it got shifted off. And it needs to be vertically aligned with both. The fact that I can actually see these planes clipping into each other, that's what this weird texture that flips means, by the way, is you've got two planes that are basically in the same place, and so it can't figure out which to render, so it just kind of fights itself and does both. But it's a nice confirmation that those are sufficiently close for our needs. You can see it's happening too in the overlap. Okay, yeah, the width is a tiny bit more narrow on this, but it's good enough to be good. Okay, we've got that one clipping nicely. That's never a thing someone should ever say. Should not be clipping nicely. It just shouldn't be clipping most of the time. But for this particular situation, it's actually what we want. Then I want to line this up so it's just the tiny, as close to the edge as I can get. But if I have to be a little bit off, we want it to be off where it's inside and overlapping. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. Scooch this one in. Okay. Yep, and just to make sure the bottoms are good. Looks like there's a different amount of over. Okay, no, we shifted that one. Okay. Then we're about to do something interesting. First off, let's look at it in the perspective. That looking sort of like our photo? I think it is. That's actually looking pretty good. The head-on view, might have to fisheye it a little more, but I think that this is sufficiently close for our needs. Okay, so what we're gonna do is well, I'm gonna save first. And then I'm gonna just, you know what, just in case, let's apply scale one more time. Shouldn't matter on these, might matter on this one, I don't think it will, but we're doing it anyway. So now we're gonna select the middle one because I want this to be sort of our main piece. It's gonna be the center. You could probably do it with any of them, but it makes sense to me, just sort of semi-intuitively, to just make the center the core piece, the piece that's actually holding it together. We're gonna do our boolean again. But this time, something I learned by accident, I was going to have to look up how to do this, and we stumbled across it, which is awesome. I want union. But, okay, and it is, oh, okay, we might have to do collection, actually. We're We're gonna have to get a little creative in here. So this up here is our list of items in the scene. So we can even just shift through this. We've got the camera. It's somewhere. Okay, it's up there. We've got the first cube that I should have renamed. Cube 2, way back there. Unrelated to cube 1, actually. Cube 3 is a warped cube 1. Actually, so this is cube 1. This is cube 0. Cube 1 is unrelated to 0. Cube 2 is a duplicated and warped cube 0. Cube 3 is a duplicated, warped, and actually done correctly cube 0. And this one's just a one-to-one with cube 0. And then we got our cylinder over there, and we got the light. Good naming conventions would say I should actually clarify what these are. Boolean cutter cube. I probably didn't read any. What I should do is delete that, but I've grown sentimentally fondly attached to it, and I feel bad for it. So we're just going to shove it out of the way. That's not good practice, by the way. Don't do that. Tower 1. I'm not going to rename the ones that shouldn't be in the scene at all, but I'm going to leave them there. My scene, it's not that important. They can hover wherever they please, as long as it's not within shot of the camera. Okay, this is going to be Arch. This is going to be Tower 2. Then Arch, Tower 1. Whoop, okay, so, oh sure, in this it uses the normal control. We are going to put these... Okay, actually, I just want the towers in a collection right now. New collection. Towers. Make sure they're in it. And then when I'm selecting here and I want to choose a collection, we're choosing towers. So now it's going to try to merge with both of them. I don't like the implication of this. That tells me that they've created... Okay, either it's doing a weird render thing, but I'm afraid it's created a ton of vertices. Okay, well, we will see. But at least now they're tentatively they're one object. They move together. Uh-oh. They lag. And then they break apart. Then undoing takes a lot of time. But I can at least select it as one object. Okay, if I select the arch, then it's one object. But it's not. And I don't want intersect. Because then we only keep the parts of the arch that are like clipped into the tower, which is almost none of it. We should be able to see like a little bit of it. Wow. Super bad. Okay. Union, we like it's connecting to all of it, and it cuts out anything that would overlap, so it should actually solve some of the normals, which would be nice. And difference is it just cuts out of it, but it doesn't merge them. We'll see if union is the right tool or not, because I want to make these into a single mesh. Maybe I have to apply this. I'm gonna regret this. Okay. Now, unless I'm mistaken, I should not be able to click on one of these separately from the rest, but I can. What? Oh! Oh, no, wait. Okay. Interesting. So when you do the Boolean on it, it just creates brand new ones based on the arch? It doesn't actually use the originals? Okay, that's interesting. And this is actually showing up in the render, is it? The lighting on this is going to be such a mess. Okay. We'll see if these blue tiles are a mistake. They might be a mistake, but they're a free texture from the Blender Guru dude. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give them a shot. They're really nice. It's a nice texture, and it fits the gate well. Okay. Woohoo! Y'all, do you know how long it took me to do this in a class when I was learning how to make like a similar project when I was trying to do this? So long. But I've carried some of those skills over, I think. Okay, hold on. Before I get too hubrisy, how's the mesh on this? Okay. Not the mesh, the wireframe. The wireframe looks fine. We don't have like a million vertices. This edge is still like fine. Nothing insane here. Whew. Was a little worried. Boolean operands can be a little bit complicated, and you can even see like it still does some weird things in the corner here, and like in the base, even though that's like one plane, it's all clippy weird, which would be bad for the UV mapping and the texture, so we'd have to clean it up, but no one, under most circumstances, we won't care what's underneath there, so that's fine. is interesting. Oh, okay. We've got a new challenge we're gonna have to figure out, which should be fun. I need an edge between these two vertices. I'm not sure if I can just create one, and if that's gonna play nice with everything else. But we're gonna try. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Just right-clicking and pulling up this menu once I have the one selected, and I can just choose New Edge Face from Vertices. Apparently F works for both, which is fascinating. It just figures it out from context. That's wild. Okay, but then I'm gonna select the edges, and man, okay. See, this is part of what I was afraid of. Is it's not really recognizing this as a face per se. I may have to get creative and grab the edges themselves, which is a pain. But I can just select this sort of ring of edges there. And what I want to do is extrude it out. So not just pull it out, and not scale or whatever the heck that's doing. Ratatol. Okay. Pick this ring back up. It's just selecting the whole ring around here. Oh, hey, Pumpkinhead! How are you? Sorry, I just saw you in chat. I'm doing good. As you can see, I've sort of gone head in on Blender for this month, so we're jumping into the 3D modeling, but it's been a good time. I hope I didn't keep you waiting too long. I will admit I got a little over immersed in there. It's easy to get carried away on Blender. I really do love it. It's more fun than just drawing in Clip Studio Paint, honestly. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and the stuff people can do is amazing, but like personally, I find this kind of 3D stuff much more like satisfying to do, not necessarily to look at, but just it's fun. Let's see, so I can pull the whole edge out, but that's not what we want. That gives the gate actually a really cool effect that would belong well in Star Wars, but not what we want. I want to extrude, which basically means we're going to take this whole section and we're going to just generate this little thing to pull away from it. But I still want to make sure. I want to make sure that I'm extruding along an axis, though. Ay, ay, ay. You know, I love Blender, but I will say, every second it's figuring out what tool you need and what hotkey, because like this isn't not what we want, not useful. Yes, I could go ISO at the top view. Oh, this is not going to be intuitive until I can get past that. I'm lost in the void. Oh dear. Oh, we were close. Ah. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. Oh, that's a cute emote too. Yeah, let's see. So this is the Ishtar Gate from the city of Babylon. One of the ancient, well, depending on which list you ask, may or may not be one of the ancient wonders of the world. I don't think in the like most official lists the walls are listed as one. The Hanging Gardens are. But unlike the Hanging Gardens, we can identify exactly where this one is. They're working on it. They'll figure it out. Probably soonish for the Hanging Gardens. They've got two possible candidates right now. But the Ishtar Gate we've got in a few pieces. And it's cool. It's a cool time. And it's really good for early modeling because it's kind of boxy, so you don't have to worry about messing with curves while you're figuring out the controls and such. Let's just wing it. That's good enough. Like a slight tilt to it, like it's bending this way a tiny bit, but trying to adjust that is so finicky, it's probably not worth messing with. And yet, as I say that, I'm still doing it. Such is the way. Okay, we've got our edge there. We want to do the same thing on this side. If we look at our reference, all the way, okay, it's hard to see at this angle. But there is like a little bit of an outcropping. Just a hair though. And it's been way too long since I've gone to, well, it's not like I can just go to the museum. It's not anywhere near me, but the Pergamon is so stinking awesome. Very cool place. Should have gotten better travel photos of this. Oops, there we go. Not rotating, but just moving. We're basically gonna repeat what we just did. We're gonna select the ring around the bottom here. Gonna try to get an overhead view so we can get this pretty close and not mess with the axes too much. And we're gonna hit E for extrude and just pull this out. And we're gonna hope vertically it's fine. It's not. Okay. Well, we can use these to fix it a little bit. Let's level this out. Blender has the ability to do this with a lot more precision than what I'm currently doing. But I have chosen poorly, so this is what we're doing. We're still refreshing on it. I learned another 3D modeling thing years and years back. Okay, it's not that long. It was like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's been a long time. But yeah, so it's been fun sort of learning Blender and how it's different from that old one. Because yeah, it's without a good guide, it is not an intuitive program. Even with a good guide, it's not an intuitive program. But let's see how this looks with the mesh. Ah, right, because it wasn't recognizing this as a face. So, okay, let me get a little creative with this. We're going to select that loop again, hit F. But actually, what I should have done first is remove that interface. It's going to cause potential problems later. Can I just do face select? No, okay, so that's the issue. It didn't actually subdivide. That's just part of the upper face. Okay, well, we'll leave it. We'll just make a new face on top of it, and we'll pretend it's not there. And if that comes back to bite us later, I can tell past me I told you so. I don't think past me is going to listen, but we can try. Okay, Ishtar Gate. Ignore the extra columns and all the other junk going on over here. Object mode, let's just put those away for the moment. And we've got ourselves the gate. Or at least a pretty good facsimile of it at this point. Yeah, let's see. I'm always trying to line it up with this one reference image. I think that's pretty close. Yeah, the curve width may be a little bit off, but like it's good enough for our purposes. I didn't think we'd get this far today. Cool, that went, even with the hiccups we had, that went pretty smoothly. We got a little bit of weird warpage on the top here, but it's not enough to break the effect, so I'm inclined to not worry about it. Pick your battles, as they say, and I'm picking the ones that actually will make sure we get this finished, and, you know, not the ones that will make it look perfect, but it'll be done next year. Something I ought to do more often. Okay, let's see it with, we've got the tentative texture on here. Oh, good. We haven't UV mapped the interfaces, because they're new. Which means that even the render, those are going to look a little wonky. I have got to get a better lighting than that. I just have like a single point light. This looks ominous and horrible. I need to actually tweak those at some point. That's probably what we'll do Tuesday, assuming that I don't have to pause stream because I have to go vote, and then I have a doctor's appointment. So Tuesday might be busy, but hopefully it'll clear up by the evening so we won't have issues. But for today, this is what we're doing. Yeah, the UV map's a little off up here. UV mapping, for the record, is basically how we lay out the texture, like so that it actually fits around this in a way that doesn't look like hot garbage. It's a lot like sewing patterns, where you've got to lay out all the pieces on the fabric just right before you start, so that once it comes together and like becomes a 3D object, the patterns line up. I think it's a good time. I know everyone dreads it, and I can totally see how it would be extraordinarily tedious if you weren't careful, because when people are trying to do a 3D model, this is not what they want to stare at. It's just not. Also, it's interesting to note, it appears the arch is going to be warped in a little bit because of the way it's choosing to do this. We're gonna get, okay, that's a little bit of the warp on the top is from how those are connected. Uh-oh. What lines are these? Which face is this? Okay, hold on. Seriously, which face is that? That's not the inside of the arch, is it? Because it's not even UV mapping that at all. Um, let's, you know, maybe let's just take a look at the model real quick and see if something looks completely bonkers. Because if it does, we've probably found it. Oh yeah, like I love this. It's going to frustrate me to no end, but it's a different kind of frustration. Like when I'm frustrated with Clip Studio Paint, it's not the program, it's frustrated with my own skills, and that's just, practice will make that better. This, my frustration is a puzzle to solve, and that is something exciting. Clip Studio Paint is too. Like we're gonna go back to that and do some cool stuff with it, of course. But man, 3D modeling is just it's a different kind of challenge. Okay, I'm gonna hazard a guess that those super busted textures are probably supposed to be on the inner arch, or they're like somewhere in here. Oh, okay, that might be it. Well, okay. Camera. Let's. Hmm. Speaking of puzzles, I don't know what happened there. Why is my mouse control inverted? Okay. Okay, we're back to normal. Oh, Blender, just when I think I understand you, you throw a new puzzle my way. Okay, yeah, the terribly broken texture is probably this. And I assume it's matching side? Yes. Good news, in our final product, those won't be very visible. So I'm not going to worry about them. I'm a little worried about this, though. Yeah, Blender sensed my hubris. It was like, oh, you think you're comfortable with the system? Psych. Oh, boy. But it really is fun. I have had a grand time getting back into this. But what have you been up to? Like, I'm sorry again that I haven't been able to make your Saturday streams. Last month, just like, I don't even have an idiom for it. I was talking at the start of this, like, my idioms are broken. I was going to say it, like, grab me by the horns, but I don't think that's what that means. Um, long story short, it was insanely busy. But I hope your streams have been great. Oh, I know what those are broken. Okay. Oh, jeepers. Gotta add more seams. Choosing where to cut. Grab the whole thing. Then UV editing. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to stop by. Again, I will make it to your streams. So help me. They sound like a blast. Okay, I didn't fix the issue. What is this? But yeah, no, I'm glad that they're going good though. That's always what you want to hear. Back connect. Oh no. I think okay. That's probably the top of one of the towers, and it's good enough to be fine. It's just a little weird. But yeah, no, I'm glad streams are good. All's good over here. I feel like I'm like turning into Han Solo trying to bluff to stormtroopers, but I do mean it genuinely. I'm gonna have to get a texture on this at some point. Oh, I think maybe I need to unwrap it. That might be it. It'll be a bit of fun. see. Yeah, no, I did Sword Timber. We spent October just trying to work on art practice, which was admittedly a little dry. I learned some useful stuff though. And then November is Blender month. Not through any official capacity. I just felt like doing Blender. So we're doing it. See how this goes. Probably still bad. The unwrap. UV editing. Oh no. Oh, what have I done? It's all scattered around. Uh-oh. Okay, let's zoom in on the known area. This has changed. I really wonder how the heck it calculates these. What? What is this? But yeah, we're doing proper Blender month. I guess this is stream 3, so we're making okay headway, honestly. I say okay headway. I think a black hole has snuck its way into our UV map. This is going to cause some problem. Why are they so tiny? Oh, the bricks are going to look huge on this. Okay, hold on. I'm jumping straight to render view. We got to see this. No? Now I really am confused. Blender, what are you up to? What the heck was that UV map? I am confused. Everything's selected. And it's all scattered horribly. Huh. But yeah, we're going all in on Blender. We're gonna go and just I don't know, I'm repeating myself now. Basically it's fun. I'm using too much of my focus to try to figure out what's happening here. And it doesn't really matter all that much, so I may just leave it and hope it doesn't come back to haunt us later. So every time you add new seams, it basically recalculates how to unfold the object, and I think those seams actually made it worse, which is impressive. Let's see. I really don't know what it's doing here. Again, if it's not showing up in the actual like render or how it's happening here, then I'm not too worried about it. And this all seems, well, no more warpy than it was before, so we'll leave that alone for now. We are gonna have to figure out how the heck to get a texture onto this section. This is all one object. I need to just reapply a material to the object? Is that even a thing I have the ability to do? Let's see. Materials, here we go. Got ourselves our material O2. Should be, oh! Hold on a second. Let's see if this is right. Nope, still not. I thought well, those may still be inverted normals, and that may be what the problem is. But the texture renders on the inside too, so I doubt that's it. But hold on. Let's see if we can't recalculate. Yeah, I assume the bend is part of the issue, mainly because, let's get this in edit mode. So the UV map it doesn't have to have straight lines, but it tries to fit everything together. So when it unwraps this, it's essentially trying to sort of flatten these like 3 outer pieces so that they have a straight edge with the curve. It's sort of like if you like tried to flatten this, like where your sleeve meets your shoulder in a shirt. Like at some point you're gonna have to stretch part of the fabric because it's curved, and it just isn't gonna go in a straight line. It's kind of trying to do the same thing. So, I mean, again, it's not really messing with the texture, and I don't think it's the underlying cause of why this isn't showing the material. Honestly, there's a small chance that just closing and reopening Blender would fix this. But I do want to try recalculating the normals first. Right after I'll add these two as seams, so it gives it one more point to unfold. Oh, wrong multi-select. Let's try this again. Will UV mark seam. So that's now a point where it would cut the fabric per se. We're just gonna select everything again. We're going to unwrap. And then let's see what it does now. This, it hasn't changed. I need to refresh this somehow. Minimize stretch seems like it would be a good thing to do. Uh-oh. Okay, nope. For a second I thought I crashed Blender, but I did not. It's fine. Oh, do I need to select everything and then select it all? Let's try it now to minimize stretch and see what happens. Okay, it's thinking. Yep. This is getting to feel, in a good way, a little bit like my actual job. I do a lot of, not IT debugging, but sort of just like high-level technical support for folks. And so it's like, okay, you can't log into the system. Let's work our way through the list. Is it this? Nope, it wasn't that. Okay, have you tried entering a different email? Oh, that got it. Or so on. Or that didn't get it, and then you have to go look it up on the tech forums, and they're in a call waiting for you, and it's very bad. But for the most part, it's fine. Yeah, okay, it's still thinking. Uh-oh. Oh. And you didn't do anything after all that? Huh. Well, I don't know. But I'll leave it alone for now. Yeah, absolutely. Just iterating on it. It's genuinely fun. Trial and error when you're not on a like deadline is actually really satisfying and enjoyable. Trial and error when you are on a deadline is a living nightmare. And it's just like, oh no. Okay, well we're getting a little caught up on that. I'm gonna real quick, speaking of reaching the point where I'm gonna Google it, Blender recalculate normals. What's the exact, okay. Oh, just straight up control in or shift control in. Okay, we want the outside, so control in. Let's use this mode so I can select everything. Back to this. Control in. Nope, that is new. Oh, we've got, well, we are in edit mode. Okay, well, we'll do this. We'll just manually go through the menus. Hotkeys. They sometimes work. Once you know what they are, they work fine, but people customize them and they change, and so yeesh. Let's see. Menu normals. Mesh. Normals. Recalculate outside. Normals. Do the inside too. Just see what that happens. I don't see any difference, which makes me worried, but we'll see. Nope, okay. It's this face, these faces specifically that were created by the booleans. Do I need to... Okay, there's no way on earth this would work. This is a dumb solution and has bad implications. If I apply the material to this, will it... Let's just chuck a green on it and do the same thing here. We'll make this one orange. Okay, no, that's not affecting it. If that affected it, I was going to be so worried, because that was going to cause problems. I mean, you're right. If it works, it's not dumb. But every once in a while, you find one of those solutions that works now, and then it turns out it explodes when you stop looking at it. And you're just like, well, that was not as helpful as I thought it was. Those are those sneaky ones where they pretend to be your friend, and they're like, aha, got you. I'm actually going to cause you more problems. Boy. Oops, okay. Yeah, it's those are always an interesting challenge. Okay, let's see. Got ourselves a gate. Got ourselves a giant French fry in the background. That'll be fine. Let's see. I don't want to start the next thing. So I am going to try to, the rest of this stream, I think I'm going to dedicate to trying to resolve this issue. And then hopefully that will mean that next stream we can actually work on, what's the word for it? Rigging this. Yes. So we're going to get this to move. Because we're not just going halfway, we're going all in on this. But first, I am going to have to do some Stack Exchange research, so let us do this. Blender, not align objects. That was our problem earlier. That's working now. Material doesn't appear on all faces. Oh, actually, this sounds like since you removed faces with UV coordinates and added new faces without the UV, you can't see it, so I need to recreate the UV map. I thought I did that. We need to make a new UV map? Okay, let's... Okay, we gotta go into edit mode. Let's go to UV. Not project. Definitely not project from view. I don't want to reset this. Redoing the UV map is kind of complicated. I was hoping, assume unwrapping again isn't going to do it because it's, all right, we got to select it before we can actually see it. That does just seem to be getting us, yeah, this same broken one. And it doesn't even include everything in it. So, can we, Okay, live unwrap would be fascinating, but not what we need. Oh, reset UV projection. Oh no. What what fantastical magic circle have we summoned? Let's go look at the model. Interesting. Okay. I assume that alone hasn't solved it. No. But let's see what it did do. I always forget I need to reselect the whole thing. There we go. Thanks for the support, Pumpkinhead Ghost. Don't worry, we're not losing hope on this. I will admit I'm a little bit confused by it. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. So the issue is that this is white because it has all of the faces overlaid on each other. Okay, so then if I undo that, we just let's bring it back. Let's see if we can't parse this. What are the inner workings of your mind, Blender? Oh. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can't. No, not annotations. I have made that mistake before. Now is not the time. Okay. My worry is that it seems like... Whoa, okay. Like the changes we're applying to the UV map aren't even applying to this anymore, which is a sign that maybe it's just straight up not even like connected, which is almost more worrying. I'm gonna add some seams, more seams, I mean, that might help. Like I think it's getting tangled up on itself. Well, obviously it's getting tangled up on itself to some extent, but let me see if I can't make sure or minimize how much that'll happen. Zip our way up here real quick. I'm using the control when I click so that it also links all of the pieces like in a straight line to the next one I select, which is nice. Although it doesn't always calculate it right. Because I don't want that one. I want this one. Oh, hold on. Rotate. We're back. Select that, that, and that. We're going up. That's right. Get it right back on the right track. Work our way back down. Our way along here. Back down. Oops. I think there's just one more we need. Oh, no, actually that gets it. So let's mark that as a seam. Mark seam. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, so at least it gives it a nice clean seam to... Oops, yeah, let's actually get it all the way around the edge here. A way that it can disconnect all of these without too much trouble. I wonder if these faces overlapping each other on the bottom are also causing issues. That'd be interesting. Food for further thought if this doesn't work. Mark seam. I'm just going to repeat that whole little quick process. Thankfully, that was fairly painless. We're going to do it again over here. Actually, I wonder if... Well, since that's already a thing, let's make that a seam too. So the reason you don't just make everything a seam, even though it seems tempting... Apologize for... Yeah. We'd gone too long this stream without a terrible pun. It had to happen. But the reason you don't do that is because it can create gaps in the texture. So if you put seams in places where you want a continuous texture, it really muddles things. But if you we've got ourselves some brain eats. But if we put them just where they're needed, then it should make it actually like parse this a little better. Hopefully, anyway. Let's see. Just dip that and that. Mark these as seams as well. Give this a save because it's been a little while, and maybe that'll help make sure that it resets in his mind. Select everything. Go back to UV editing. Oh, right, one more step. We gotta unwrap it. UV, unwrap. That tells it to basically recalculate. Okay, buddy, how you feeling? Hey, this is different. That means we've achieved something. Actually, it is genuinely good news that this is a little different, because we can see like the arches that we've been molding are now properly flattened out. This top shape is a little warped, but not nearly so bad. And these overlapping each other is actually fine. So the fact that a lot of these shapes are now properly proportioned, you can see like the sides of the tower here, the squares at the top here. That's good. The problem is, and there seems to be one point here from which, and one point over here. And most of these other broken rectangles are emanating from them. I need to figure out where those are. Also, it's interesting that despite having the whole model selected, not everything selected in here. I wonder if... Okay, let me... Not transform, scale, or rotate. We've got this one. If I have it highlighted here... Okay, hold on. I'm going to try highlighting a large chunk of it. Does it... Okay, the amount I highlight in the UV editing doesn't affect what's highlighted out here. That's unfortunate. Not the end of the world, but just slightly inconvenient. Still interesting how much of this isn't getting highlighted at all. Yeah, they really are. Like, this is an awesome geometric pattern in its own right. And I'm glad I've got it on the VOD, so maybe we can like use this for something. Like, this feels like it could be someone's like brand logo or something. Not like a full brand logo, but like the background for like a witch apothecary shop or something. And they've got all the balanced shapes pouring out of that top point at different angles. Again, this is why UV mapping is it's fun. It's often really pretty, and it's a real puzzle, real brain scratcher. I guess caveat: please don't actually scratch your brain. I assume that's probably not good for it. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't tested. Maybe it'll be the next big thing. Okay, so this is okay. That's interesting. These are not one single vertex up here. They're just overlaid on each other. They're not getting tied up there. Okay. What I can do is let's select just a part of the model. Let's see where it lands, and maybe it will help us narrow down where our problems lie. I'm going to grab this section here. We're going to go to the UV editing. Okay, so that's got, looks like 3 of our warped angles. 1, 2, 3. Oh, potentially, no, okay, this one's connected to that. So 3 of our warped ones. Interesting. Interesting. Let's try to narrow it down further. Is it an issue in the bottom? Yep, okay, that narrowed out some of the rectangles. It seems to be where all of these are. Let's see if I can't narrow this down a little further. Is it an issue here? Yep, okay. And we're getting some weird fragments in here too. That's intriguing. Whereas if I were to say, just select like this corner over here, there's like a face in that corner, so I guess that's not a good example. But if we select this back corner here, UV editing, it looks fine. It's just it's a rectangle. I feel like the texture's displaying wrong, but it's not actually wrong. That's a whole different thing. So that tells me something I had feared a little bit, that where we've merged these meshes, it's caused some complications. Oh, in fact, I wonder if our lovely little hexagons are living away sneaking under here. Let's select this. Okay, no, that alone is fine. Possibly when it's in the context of the others, it stops being fine. Nope, okay, we're getting them in there. Let's see, is it... Oops, nope, I want to make sure I get this piece. Nope, they're all good on their own. Yep, but in the context with all of them, let's see if it works. Nope, okay. So, okay, what that tells us is basically we just need some internal seams here. That's fine. That's actually should be easy to do. Especially since a lot of this is not visible, so I don't really mind just making it super seamy. Okay, no wait. Continuous line around this edge. And there. Let's mark seams there. On the one hand, I hate to tear down that lovely little bizarre shape that we were getting there. But on the other hand, we do still have an image record of it because we do keep these recordings and post them to YouTube. And so it's not gone forever. Wait a second. That's an interesting line there. Some of the mesh merging got a little bit off. As long as we've got good seams for it, that's fine. Let's test this now. We grab these pieces and we go to UV editing. Nope, we're still getting it. Okay. And more importantly, I'm not sure that also doesn't resolve our bigger issue of those can be as wonky as they want. It'll make the UV editing harder, but it doesn't answer why we're not getting any textures on the underside of the arch. Because I presume we are still not. So let's investigate this. Can I just select a face? See if it shows up in our UV page. Okay, it's here. It's here. Okay, hold on. Single image. I'm gonna try re-importing the file. I'm gonna do this because I think the scale is off. Oh. Okay, no. This won't solve it, but it's something we should do anyway. Let's apply scale. Not going to solve that particular, especially if I don't remember to select the whole thing. But it is something worth doing. Man, this really is a cool pattern. I wonder how many neat like sigils and stuff you could generate just by like trying to build patterns for IKEA furniture. Like honestly, I'm sure there's some real magic hidden in there. Cool stuff. Okay, this face No, not that face. This face. Nope, also not that one. Where? Enter here. Okay, this face is weird and kind of a problem. So I am going to request that it leave. It has been a pleasure. You have been uninvited from our island. Alas, we're going to keep Animal Crossing hunting for, I believe it was Rodney was the popular one. Just, whoop, nope, I did not want to, whoops, that's not the right power. I wish to select you and invite you off. Goodbye. And likewise to you. Auf Wiedersehen. Out of curiosity, I wonder what that's done to UV editing. Probably nothing, but I'm intrigued. UV unwrap. Nope, yep, okay, still fascinatingly muddled. Well, that's fine though. What we can do is generate a new face. We're going to go from our face select mode into edge select here. Grab the 4 edges we want. Oop, not that one. This one. Not that one. The lower one. There we go. Then hit F. And now there's actually a new face there. Hard to see in the wireframe mode, but it is there. And I wonder, okay, it has bad textures, but it does have textures. So we may just have to go and regenerate these faces. Like, however they were formed by the inner cut, they're not doing what they need to do. So we can replace them fairly easily. Zoop, and another one. All right, let me go into face mode real quick. Delete this one and this one, and we'll clean up the bottom. You know, sometimes if you can't figure out the problem, you can still solve it. UV unwrapping this will be considerably easier than trying to figure out whatever was causing these faces. I do still want to figure that out in the future, like, because it'd be useful to know without having to manually rebuild the faces. But in this case, it's a fairly simple fix. Fairly painless even. We'll just pop into face mode, delete this one, and its neighbor across the way, and we'll just sort of work our way up the arch. It's maybe not the cleanest solution, but it is a success. Oh yeah, I can actually just go into this mode, make sure I select these 4 vertices, and just boom, that's even. Here I'm getting all confident that we've solved this. You have chosen to be a problem. Wouldn't be better if it didn't give me a few more challenges. Let's try generating it from the edges rather than the vertices. I wonder if there's something up with like a duplicate vertex. So this is the wonder of those boolean like builds is really cool that you can just basically take a cylinder and use it to etch a hole in another shape. The downside is it has to recalculate the meshes along wherever they interacted. And Maya had this issue too, is those calculations are just phenomenally complicated, and it usually results in some weird some such. Okay. Why do you not want to cooperate, but your friend over there was 100% on board with this plan? Well, we'll test the next one. Delete this face. Select the correct edges and create a new one. Hold on, let's just... Face. Okay. Should have known it wouldn't be that simple. Would have liked it to be, though. But the UV map's going to be even weirder now with those 2 additional ones. So we can at least start it with them. UV editing. Yep, intriguing. Oh yeah, it's every time we think we've beaten it, it unveils a new health bar. But that's A-okay. I'm going to check the guide and see if they have any tips and tricks for fighting this boss. Let's see. Okay, that's from 2015 and is based on an old renderer. The joy of navigating which guides are still relevant. This is just how to assign materials. That's, I think we figured that one out. Let's see. Interesting. Blender, texture does not apply correctly from 2013. Oh dear. Being in the texture section. Well, we can look at the texture, see if that has any matter. Oh, why do I have two materials like this? What's the full name of this one? Tile ceramic some way offset 002 color versus tile ceramic subway offset crackle 002 color 4K. I don't know why their names look different. Oh, it's just because of the .003. Okay, so that's fine. Which material is on this object for the record? That would be useful to know. Okay, it's just basic material. Interesting. I wonder what happens if I just apply a fresh material to it. Let's just go and create a new material. Let me find and file. How the heck do we make it? Oh, okay, yeah, it's not here. It's yeah, show me all of them. I've created materials before. How on earth? Oh, right, here we go. New material. Test tiles. And instead of base color, we want an image. Image texture. Let's oh wait, no. We want to open an existing one because I've got a textures folder specifically for this sort of deal. We want color 4K. Open image. Linear, yep, that's fine. Repeat. Single image, yep. Okay, now that and this is our test tiles. We go to our object in object mode now. We've got it here. Base color. The material we want, we can make sure that it's test tiles. Yep, we're still having that issue. That does at least help narrow things down a little bit. Funny to see this with the rendering engine and everything else is looking very precise, and then we've just got womp. At least it's not like the old, like, Gary's mod missing texture with, like, the alternating pink and black squares. Oh, jeepers. Let's see. Okay, so every sign points to it to be that the mesh isn't quite unwrapped right. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Maybe. Oh, I need to select the whole darn thing. Hold on 1 second. Maybe this is the way. Or it's not, but we'll find out. I need to be in edit mode. So select all the vertices, and I do mean all of them. Good. The ones in question have been selected. We're going to give it one final unwrap. We're going to go to UV editing. Okay, so this should tile infinitely, so there should be no way that any of these are over the edge. So that eliminates that as a possibility. What if I remove that option? What if we Let's pull it off of that for a second, because it does seem to be trying to stay within this bounds of the texture. Which is interesting, because it doesn't need to do that if we tile infinitely. I assume, yep, okay, we're still seeing the same texture in the same spots. If I were to, rats I deselected. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna go back and do our UV editing. I'm gonna grab all of these, and I'm just going to move them over to here. We're gonna see what that does. I expect. Okay, so it's not even projecting it onto here anymore. Like, this is not the current update of the UV. So what? That's interesting. The changes I make here aren't mapping one-to-one. What that makes me think I ought to do, believe it or not, is just close and reopen the project. Because I do believe, oh yeah, welcome to my desktop. I do believe that that may just need a little bit of a wake up. Okay, so we see this here. We've got this, it's live, it's saved, it's good to go. We look at the model. Okay, I had to at least load it that time, but that still shouldn't all be showing up. There should be significant gaps in the texture. So whatever we're doing here, not quite working. Let me. Well, let's look at our UV projections real quick and see if we can't. Oh, nope, nope. Don't deselect everything. Shall be done, indeed. Let's just throw cube projection on here. Based on this tutorial. Cube size. Let's not mess with that, actually. Before we mess with that too much, but we are going to go ahead and make sure that we cube projection this. Look at the UV editing view. This is a better start. We're actually finally seeing updates over here. That's good. That said, it is still far too small, but if it's at least reacting, then that's something we can fix. Also a little bit off the bottom, so let's move it back up here. Yeah, this is a fun playlist I've found. I need to make my own sometime, but I'm still having to be very cautious about copyright and everything because I post these to YouTube. But these have been just wonderful songs. Although I'll admit, I have not played enough of the Animal Crossing games, so I'm going to encounter those songs in the wild someday and just, like, utterly baffle myself. Because I'm not going to know where I've heard them before. Okay. See, that's frustrating because this still isn't. This doesn't match what. Just saw those in the background. Actually, those have the texture too, don't they? Okay, but they still have the material assigned, so it shouldn't interfere. Okay. Let's keep on going on this. UV editing. Object is selected. There's not like a little tiny bit of object way off in the distance somewhere that's not on this map. Because if this was showing, then the bricks should be the width of the entire column. But let's see. Updates to UV map not displaying in Blender. Okay, let's. If we can't update this and make sure we're looking at the right. We've got the object selected, so this should be on the correct material. Image drop down, select the correct image. Okay. Here we go. Texture coordinate node needs to be set to UV map. Okay, hold on. I don't want to get in the node charts just this moment. They're wonderful, That's not a last 5 minutes of the stream thing to break out. That would be a heck of a cliffhanger. Okay. Okay. Looking at the model, got our render view. Well, we may just have to go and actually do this. Hold on. Let me take a look-see at this. Base color vector. I don't want to have to get into the mappings on this if I can avoid it. But this is something I could recreate fairly easily. But the question is, why is it not showing up in the texture in the first place? Sampling's fine, line art, viewport display. Okay. Nope, not that one. I don't believe. We've got our image file in here. Should be a compatible image type, although we can swap to another one. That does seem to be updating it. Okay, hold on. Option. Let's do an entirely different image in here. Not render result. That's no. Okay. Let's new image. Test image. We don't want generated type blank. We want UV grid. Oh, actually, no. Blank is fine, but I do need to actually like add the image. Oh, okay. Open image. That was the issue. We're gonna nab like this whole lamp texture I threw together for an unrelated project. We're gonna see if we can't map it onto this and at least figure out if that'll help us narrow some stuff down. That's a bad sign. Okay, hold on. Image. Oh, okay. Got it. That's a fine sign. I'm in the wrong folder. Documents, art, drawings. Let's see. Let's throw one of our Swordtober swords on here. Some of these are, I mean, many of them are terrible, but they've at least got transparent background, so we can mess with it. Okay, so there's our weird image. Oh, why is it warping this to fit in the box? Okay, Still doesn't answer why it's not showing on some of the textures at all, but it's intriguing at least. If we save this, go back to modeling, and yeah, okay, so this just straight up isn't updating at all. Oh. Okay. Hold on. That's not putting the UV map texture in here, that's just throwing a random image on it and seeing if it lands. Okay. Vector UV. Let's see. I'm not sure we're gonna get this solved before the end of the stream tonight, to be truthfully honest, but you know what? I am gonna give it a solid go. And this is for test tiles, which I assume is what this object has. Let's go back into object mode. There we go. Oh, we've got two. How many UV maps do we have on here? Okay. UVmap.testDecal and UV map. Okay. That should be the current UV map. Then looking at the texture. Got image texture. It should be pulling from. Okay. Do I need to be mapping it? Do I need to select the object? That shouldn't already be on the object. Not messing with any of these like specularity and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll hold out. We'll get this going best as we can. We're not messing with... Okay. The normals are... That should be fine default. Why is our base color so wonky? Should just be an image texture. Should be... Okay, I mean, like, we've put this texture in here before. Question is, why is it still... I assume even if I have this selected, if we look in UV editing, it's... I gotta select it in edit mode. I'm sure there's a better way to do that, but at least this... Okay, so like, yeah, obviously the UV map on here, it's still a little broken, but it's much less broken. But the issue is that we're just not even picking it up at all. Picking up some other thing. So I've somehow managed to disconnect the UV map from the actual object. Probably when we did the cuts. I bet you those textures have not updated a single time since we did the boolean trim and merge. In fact, I know a way to confirm that. Let's look. Okay, we have gotten these updates here. Oh, but even then, that's just pulling straight across. But let's see if we can identify. Yeah, that has the same warp. These are warping. Yeah, they're the same crackles of the same places. Even like, you can see the matching warp on the actual top of the gate here. It's just a stretched out version of this warp here. So yeah. Oh, I wonder if when we merged all three objects, it's trying to apply like all three textures, and so like not one of them is dominant. I think let's nix any material off of this. We're gonna go with no material for this whole object. This object material should be none of them. In fact, I'm gonna toss all the materials. Okay, yeah, each of those sections had its own material. Well, no stinking wonder it wasn't working, right? Okay, let's make something new. Let's call it Ishtar tiles. Base color is going to be an image texture. Okay, see, it's responding now, finally. Okay, so it just straight up had like too many textures assigned to it, and we weren't seeing any of the actual ones. Open, textures, offset crackle, color. They're going to be huge bricks, right? No, weirdly not. So the mapping has worked okay, but this is a new mapping still. And it's working under here now. Okay, see, that one's giant. Okay, that's stinking. But that's something we can work on. Let's look at this in the UV editor and actually look at it in the UV editor. Selector tool. Edit mode, got it. Selector tool. UV editing. This is just straight up not even the right thing. Okay, let me... I wonder if I can... Open, okay. No, because this isn't going to let me open the texture, though. Like, I've got the object selected, and I'm going to, once more, UV unwrap it. But UV editing is showing... Oh boy, that's okay. If it's scattered, that's fine. But where is the texture? Why is it not showing me that? Oh, okay, cool. We got it. I think we got it. I mean, don't get me wrong, this looks bad, and I've noticed some of these are mapped sideways, but all that requires is a little bit of clever UV fixing, which is a perfectly fine thing to do next stream, and it's actually not that big of an issue at all. It is still weird that it seems to be about a step behind, but that's okay. Anyway, we want to open the color 4x, or 4K one rather. Oop, let's get that in here. Yep, okay, so see, this is the size they're showing at now. There's two things I can do at the end of this stream to get it looking pretty good. And then I think that will probably be where we wrap it for today. Thank you for sticking in here while we did some crazy debugging. This was a wild one. Yeah, we got it. All right, we're going to repeat the pattern infinitely, and then we're going to make this everything huge. But we did it. Okay. I appreciate you sticking around for this wild ride. Okay, and then on the model. Most of the bricks are sideways, except for these ones. But, oh, and those ones I must not have selected. They must be further out somewhere. But the point is, it's working again. Oh, good. Where did I? Yeah. Well, you know, all the same usual quirks of it. Whew. There we go. Okay, that is an acceptable place to leave off in my mind. We got a lot done. We modeled the arch. We figured out, not only did we solve the problem, we figured out what caused it and why, which is much more satisfying because that means if it shows up again, we can solve it much faster. Woo! Man, you don't get that kind of triumph from, like, just my normal day job. This is fun. Whew. Okay, well, I do think we are probably going to have to wrap it there for tonight. Thank you, Pumpkinhead Ghost, and anyone else who may be lingering in chat. I don't stinking know, but, like, thank you for being here and for, like, sticking around while we solved this. Blender is always an adventure. I will let you get back to your evening or morning or midday or 3 in the afternoon, whenever it happens to be for you. Yeah, absolutely. I will, so help me, I will make it to one of your streams. I swear it. But until then, thank you for dropping by. This has been an absolute blast. And I will let you get back to it. Have a good one.